sides and finished as the only perfect team in the country. But perfect enough to hold off Alabama's bid for the top spot? And what about Oklahoma? A spot secured, but the question is, which one? Who's in? That has a highly likely answer. All of the other questions will be unveiled shortly. College football playoff selection day starts right now.
This is where the debate has been settled, where the decision has been made, and where the season has been considered.
We'll look back at this as the turning point. The opportunity was there.
The day has come. The games have been played. The arguments made.
Your resume matters.
It's fun to get excited. It's fun for people to yell at each other. He's got 21. Touchdown!
The decision now final. Only 4 teams continue.
His record speaks for itself.
You better be ready to defend your pick.
On the playoff path to the ultimate goal. After all the chatter and bluster on the outside, it's inside this room where just 12 voices have determined, are you in?
Voices. It's just like a jury. Jeff Long has led this group to decide the fate of the teams who will be in the college football playoff, doubtless relying on the football expertise of guys like Dr. Tom Osborne. You see Barry Alvarez earlier in the room as well. All of these guys talking about resumes, bodies of work, eye test, football judgment, all part of the equation to determine who will be among the 4 teams vying to get to the championship game on January 11th in Glendale, Arizona. Will be on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. We have a really good idea of which 4 teams will be in. Look how relaxed they are in Norman, Oklahoma. The Sooners didn't even have to play on Championship Saturday. They know they've done enough. They're waiting to find out where they will be. Will it be Dallas or will it be in South Florida? Michigan State with a thrilling victory against Iowa with a drive for the ages to finish off the deal in the Big Ten Championship. Having a little sustenance. Looks like we're working on some wings there in East Lansing.
Refueling.
Yeah, got to get ready. That was a long drive. Those offensive guys are probably tired. Staff working on that right now. The big pizza party that Dabo Swinney promised, win or lose, obviously that's the difference in having meat lovers and pepperoni as opposed to having like some kind of veggie pizza.
Yeah, something powerful like.
Got it. Yeah, tofu. That's right. I want to hear from all of these guys we're hearing from on the set. We have reporters all over the place. Tom Rinaldi with #1 Clemson. Tuscaloosa, Alabama's where Kaylee Hartung is. Samantha Ponders in Norman, Oklahoma. And Marty Smith is in East Lansing with Michigan State. We don't know which order these teams are going to be in. Rinaldi's with the only team that finished with a perfect record. So, Tom, I'm assuming that there is a slice of pepperoni with your name on it. What's it like there in Clemson right now as the Tigers wait to see where they're going?
Reese, this all came from an idea that Dabo Swinney mentioned when the first college football rankings came out. He said, wouldn't it be great to have a pizza party? He said it took on a life of its own. Cut into 8 slices, 10 different franchises, 5 different towns, all feeding and serving of Clemson faithful here. All of Dabo Swinney's brainchild. A lot better here because they're going to celebrate it as a conference champion. Dabo Swinney will address this crowd shortly. If there were a roof on the building, it would come off. They're really here ready to celebrate. We'll hear from Dabo here in Clemson.
To gobble up 2 more wins, they hope. Tommy, they'll start and find out who they go up against coming up in a matter of moments. And let's now go down to Tuscaloosa where Kaylee Hartung is there. Alabama back-to-back SEC champions. Crimson Tide, we are certain will be in the playoff for the 2nd straight year, Kaylee.
Well, Reese, we're here in Tuscaloosa, but there is just not much to see. I know it is so cliche to say, but it is business as usual in Tuscaloosa, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. We've seen a couple members of the staff trickle in this morning. We had to turn the lights on for ourselves when we came in at about 5 a.m. to the facility, and Nick Saban is on his way here now. He went to church this morning. He held a recruiting breakfast at his home. He's got a staff meeting he'll hold at 12 Central here. Now, there's no pizza party here, not even a watch party for the team, and when Alabama's playoff fate is announced, we don't even know how many members of the Alabama football team will be watching. That's because plenty of them could still be sleeping. They got back to Tuscaloosa last night around 10 p.m. local, and they don't have to be into the facility until 2 p.m. this afternoon. So sleep may be a very precious commodity they need at this point. Last year, when they did have a watch party, Nick Saban told his team before they found out they were the number one ranked team, act like you've been there before. Well, now they've been there before. There's no acting here, Reese.
Haley, they're the only team that has, and by the way, just to clear up one thing, everybody watches the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
Selection day. Let's go to Norman now and Samantha Ponder. Sam, Bob Stoops isn't with his team right now. He's in New York City. The Sooners know that they'll be in. What's it like there in Norman?
Yeah, that was what was a little bit different today, of course, because everyone was expecting the faces that you're most used to seeing at OU, that being Bob Stoops and Baker Mayfield. Like you said, Bob Stoops is in New York for the National Football Foundation event, which is inducting Brian Bosworth into the Hall of Fame, but also Baker Mayfield, a guy who is up for an award, the Walk-On of the Year. I think it's the Burlsworth Award that is in Arkansas. He is on his way there. So think about this. A guy who is possibly up for the Heisman is also up for the Walk-On of the Year award. So the guys are here behind me. There are supposed to be about 200 guys here today just hanging out. They had brunch together, now sitting around waiting. They've done more waiting than anybody else, of course, because they already won the Big 12 championship. So this weekend, all they've done is sit around and wait. And now it's just about that time, Reese.
Sammy, that was one of the more impressive performances of the weekend. That was an outstanding job of blocking out that background noise, of hearing her own voice about 8 seconds later. That was outstanding. I salute you for that. That was pretty loud in the background there. You did a great job.
Sam getting the Herb Street seal of approval to get things started on Selection Day. On the banks of the Red Cedar, there is Marty Smith there where, Marty, Michigan State has already won a de facto playoff game, winning a national quarterfinal in the waning seconds. That's their MO. That's how they win these days, to beat Iowa, and they presume make their way into the field.
Reese, thank you, sir. I'm in the room with the Spartans right now, and head coach Mark D'Antonio has had very clear messaging all year long. Of course, we want to win the Big Ten championship. That's a goal every year, but our goals this year are loftier. We want a national championship in East Lansing. Riley Bullock, linebacker, said he and his teammates talk about it every day amongst themselves. Over my right shoulder, you will see a wall with placards on it. Each one of those placards represents one of Michigan State's opponents in 2015. Typically, players sign those placards after victories, but over the last 2 weeks, Coach D'Antonio has had them sign them before they ever take the field of play. Why? Accountability. Own it. Be it. Put your name on it. Well, here in a bit, they put their name on the Iowa placard, and that means these men have put their name on the college football playoff in 2015, Reese.
Antonio has pushed all of the right buttons, Marty. We'll hear from these guys as the selections are unveiled. Now, our strength of record metric, ESPN has divided. Let me explain this to you if you're not familiar. It's a backward-looking measure of how strong a team's record is given their opponent. So it takes into account how good the teams you played are. Clemson and Alabama, around a 2% chance for an average top 25 team to achieve the records they did. These are the top 4 teams in strength of record. Will that necessarily reflect the way they are seeded by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee? This is different from FPI, which is a forward-looking measure. This looks back, so the resumes are clearly strong of the 4 teams that we expect to be in the College Football Playoff. Glad to have you with us on Selection Day. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollack, and Kirk Herbstreit. Several others will join us throughout. And as a reminder, as we do every Tuesday night when the rankings are revealed, we haven't seen them yet. So you will see them when we do. Obviously, our graphics operator, Eric, when he gets that, he'll type them up and then we'll get them out there to you. I feel like that we're only going to have controversy if somehow these aren't the 4 teams. What are you wanting to see?
Well, I think everybody, after the results last night, we all agree that these are the 4. And it's funny, you either debate, is there a chance that Bama could go past Clemson at the top, or is there a chance at the bottom you could see Oklahoma and Michigan State flip? I think it's the latter, if there's anything at all. I mean, you would think because it was chalk yesterday, there's a chance you're going to see the same 4 as last week with Clemson and Alabama and Oklahoma, and then the Big Ten winner, Michigan State. But has Michigan State done enough for the committee to look at the entire body of work? Not yesterday. That was a great win against Iowa. The entire body of work, beating Ohio State in Columbus, knocking off a great Oregon team is the way the season ended. Michigan and Ann Arbor. And that non-conference schedule matters. I just wonder if Michigan State's done enough to go from 4 to 3. To me, that's the only drama as we sit here right now, really.
Yeah, and it's drama, but it's fun because one of the criteria they've outlined for us to look at is head-to-head, and another one is whether you win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, Michigan State got that opportunity. They won their championship game, played an extra game.
Yep.
I feel they should be rewarded, and I feel like they should be in that 3 spot. So that's the only thing that, for me, and you also beat the number 4 team in the country. It's not like you didn't beat somebody good. So Michigan State, I think, earned the right to be in that 3 spot, but that's the only drama. You're right. I think Clemson's locked at number 1, and then I think Bama's at 2.
Stop at number 3. If the committee is really resetting, and Reese, you've preached this to me every single time we've done the show, if you reset and just look at the resume, I don't know who has a better resume than Michigan State and what they've done at the end. When you think of Ohio State, Michigan, and then Iowa now, all those top Oregon teams, Oregon also, if you truly reset, Michigan State could come out anywhere from 2 to 4 in this situation because their resume has been that strong at the end.
But I was going to say, it's a big deal for fans. It's a big deal. If 3 and 4 switch, you're talking about changing the whole thing as far as matchups.
Yeah, it's a difference in the matchup. I think one of the interesting things about how the committee will evaluate this is I agree with you guys about Michigan State. Maybe Clemson's wins are as good. Their 3 wins would be top 10, top 12 type wins. But Michigan State also has on the flip side the eye test. How they won the Michigan game. They only beat Purdue by 3. Rutgers spiked the ball, on 4th down. The Indiana game was a 5-point game with 5 minutes to go. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm saying if they don't hold them, it'll be because of things like that.
That's very fair. And I guess if I were, and I'm not sitting here trying to state a case for Michigan State, but if you're looking in this discussion about what Michigan State's done, what a different team in the last 4 weeks.
No doubt.
Darian Hicks gets back. He's healthy, overcomes his injuries, what he's dealing with earlier. They moved Demetrius Cox from corner to safety. Monte Nicholson playing better. These last 4 weeks, it's kind of the Michigan State you'd expect to see. So I think early in the year when you start 3 true freshmen in the secondary in Lincoln, Nebraska, that's a different team than the team we've seen over the last 4 weeks.
The defense creating turnovers. You're absolutely right. Early on, when you see Mark D'Antonio and the Michigan State defense, you're thinking, man, do they really miss Pat Narduzzi who went to Pitt? You just weren't used to seeing a defense from Michigan State not be able to close teams out and put them away when the offense gave them a lead. These last 4 weeks, that's the way Michigan State's going to win their games. If they win in the playoffs, that's how they're going to win. It's going to come down to the end. It's hard-nosed, hard-fought football, and it's going to be close. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but that defense playing now and creating the turnovers that they're creating, I don't know who beats Michigan State's defense right now the way they're playing.
And it's not as simple as just, it doesn't matter. It's not that simple. The matchups matter. I mean, where they play matters. So where Michigan State goes, you can say whatever, it doesn't matter if they're 3 or 4. It does matter in who they play, and then obviously the styles of, you got to beat everybody in the end, but it's going to matter of location and everything else.
We're sitting here bragging about Michigan State, but you also got to look at Oklahoma. And I've called a lot of their football games over the course of these last 3 or 4 weeks, and I would make an argument that Oklahoma has been one of the hottest teams in the entire country. I think they might be the most complete team in college football as we end this season with what Baker Mayfield's doing at quarterback, his ability to make plays running and throwing, Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon in that backfield, Sterling Shepard on the outside, the defense with Mike Stoops and Bob Stoops, the way they played this year. I think coming into the end, as we get ready for this playoff, I would say that Oklahoma is the most complete team getting ready for these next few games.
I hear that argument, and I understand it, and what I see tells me that too. Their best 3 wins were all against backup quarterbacks. How much does that play into it? Because every year we watch teams and we go, man, they're getting better, they're beating up on everybody, and then they play better competition and sometimes they struggle. I'm not saying they're not deserving. I agree with what you're saying. Baylor with a backup quarterback.
Jared Stidham was with the backup people when he was looking.